Well, welcome back, everybody. Today we have a really special edition of It's Time. And while we always try to keep things light and keep things open, at certain times we have to really address what's going on in our world, positive or negative. And right now, just to put a timestamp around what we're doing, people are dealing with these just catastrophic fires in LA with the loss of life, the loss of property, the loss of normalcy. And Linsly and I are just so grateful that we have a young woman with us today, and we'll kind of explain how this relationship developed and how she got here, but is shining a light in an area of darkness and where people are feeling really overwhelmed and just an overwhelming sense of despair. She has is really coming up with really unique ways as a young student athlete to pick up her community in the face of her own loss. And so we're going to dive into that.
It's such a gift because I think, Jen and I are always trying to figure out how to make things accessible and doable. And what Maria is bringing to this conversation is the roadmap, the easy access way to do the things we all want to do and make it accessible and doable in terms of helping. And so this is a gift of making doing the right thing easy to do. So thank you, Maria.
Yeah. To give just a little background, and I'm going to let Maria introduce herself. I am so fortunate to come across this young woman. Her father started a company called the Liminal Collective several years ago, of which I was fortunate enough to be a partner of and have gotten to work with her dad over the years. And he has been a big supporter of myself, a big supporter of Prosper, and just an awesome role model and human. And Maria and her family lost their home about a week ago in the fires and lost most of their possessions and have been displaced. But instead of kind of just turning inward, they have taken their amazing sense of community and support and turned it outward and have just been within 48 hours of losing everything they've owned. They're already giving back to their communities and stepping forward. And so it's just such an honor to have Maria with us and to let her share her story and help us navigate this complex web of how do we help, how do we make an impact, and how do we get this to a broader community. So Maria, thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you guys for having me. It really means so much to be able to, talk to you guys and kind of share my story and kind of give a little insight on kind of the good that's going on. I know it looks devastating and horrifying from the outside, and it still is on the inside. But there's a lot of positives that are coming out of this, which is really awesome. So I've lived in the Palisades since about fourth grade, fifth grade, and both my brother and I attended Palisades High School. I'm currently a junior there, and it's the definition of a home in every way, shape, and form. The town itself, where I live, I was just about 3 blocks away from the school. I walked there every day. I kind of came from a really small private school from Santa Monica, and so I came to Pali with basically no friends, no ties, nothing. And over the course of the last 3 years, I just kind of dove into everything, anything and everything to kind of form that community and make those friends and bonds. And, there was yearbook, there was soccer, Latin Student Union, Human Rights Watch. There was like ethnic studies book club and like all of these different things, ambassadors. I threw myself into about, I can't even count the amount of things that I threw myself into over these last 3 years. Um, and so it's the most devastating part is that this year was really kind of the get to work year.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
kind of dipped my toe into things over the last, freshman, sophomore year. But junior year is kind of where I had found my footing I
Yeah.
had great classes, great teachers,
Yeah.
great friends. My boyfriend and I have been dating for the last like 11 months. So this year was really just a very solid time at the school. Um, the fire started around Tuesday morning ish. I was about to go to soccer practice actually, and then it got canceled because of the wind. Um, and, we packed up and we went. We were probably out in about 45 minutes to an hour. My mom, this is kind of what she does. She works in, wildfires and natural disasters. And so she's made us prepared, all the annoying pack your go bags and, this is a drill and we're going to practice, all those times I wish I hadn't rolled my eyes because it was the best thing possible for our family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We knew exactly where things were. We were fortunate enough to get out. All four of us were there. Fortunate enough to get out with, sentimental things, important papers, medicine, clothes, um, all the things we needed. And we left. And I say 100% I thought I was coming back. There were things that I left that I was like, do I really want to put this back when I get home? Um, but flash forward to now, I was like, I would have stuffed everything I had into that car if I had known. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people share that sentiment of
Yeah.
most people thought they were
Yeah.
coming back, if
Yeah.
not everybody.
Of
Um,
course.
there's
That
been
was
a couple of these fires that have come through, and it's always been, up in the mountains, but never touched down into this community. And so I think a lot of people had a lot of hope, and just seeing it just shatter that hope was a really hard um, thing to kind of have to experience. Um,
yeah.
and so you kind of sit with this. We didn't really know. Our house had made it through the night that we had left, so it made it till about 5 in the morning. Um, and then our neighbor came and he got into the town and took some pictures, and he said it's completely gone. And it was a moment of just total shock.
Yeah.
I think I'd spent the 24 hours before kind of in a limbo of like, we're probably going to be able to go back. And, we all had a lot of hope that our street made it, because there are those stories and there are those homes that make it.
Yeah.
Um, Clinging on to any hope that you could possibly have. And then we found out, and it's still been a work in progress of trying to accept the fact that it's real. And um, then not even that, but then just seeing the texts come in. Our soccer group chat was the most active over the last couple of days of updating each other and saying where the fire was and what was, in danger and what wasn't. And the text just kept coming in of my home's gone, my home's gone, my home's gone, my home's gone. Um, and then, obviously Instagram, you see it all too. We're all incredibly active on Instagram, so you can imagine. Um, and just seeing countless pictures of people just posting their house just gone.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just an overwhelming amount of loss and chaos and fear because it's still going. I think that's the hardest part. I was like, can we just be done with it already? Like it's been just days and days of it not ending. And so it was about 3 days ago, I want to say, maybe, when I kind of started seeing that all my friends just didn't take nearly as much as I think I had taken. I think I felt lucky and fortunate through this whole process to have taken what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there are stories of people who left with a toothbrush, a small suitcase, had to leave their car, had to, walk down the hill, weren't with their parents or family. And my mind was kind of like, you're in such a fortunate position. Um, and you are able to do something, and so you should be. And my mind was like, also selfishly, I can do this to not have to think about it, and I can just lock in on a project and just kind of forget the rest. Um, and so my friends had come to visit me. They go to like Samo High and other different schools in the area. Um, they came to visit me in the hotel I was staying at and just be with me and just support me. Um, and we kind of started talking. We were like, "Oh, what can we do? Right? There has to be some way that we can do something besides just sitting here and feeling sad."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we decided that we were gonna start something called Clothes for Palisades, which is a kind of a student run effort, a student run initiative to get donations from all across LA, wherever we could get them, and get them to people who needed them. And so we spent all of Friday and Saturday getting these donations, and we had my friend was kind enough, her family was kind enough to host it. Um, just so many bags of clothes that we got. We got truckloads full.
Mm-hmm.
Um, took so many trips and so many people getting it there. Some people that I knew, some people that were strangers. And then we had so many volunteers, a lot of people that I know that I go to school with, some people that I didn't know that well, but had heard about it from Instagram. And we sorted through every item, sorted it by size, by type, by gender. And we said, come here if you need anything. And we had people come. And honestly, I was like, if one person comes, this has all been worth it to me. Um, and there were some kids from my school actually that came and took stuff because it's such a small area that a lot
Mm-hmm.
of kids go to the school and live in the area.
Mhm.
And so a lot of kids, there's about, like a handful of kids that came that I knew, and they spent like about half hour, 45 minutes picking out stuff. And then probably the most striking thing that happened was a woman came in who I'd never seen before, and she was wearing scrubs. And she just kind of started coming in, picking out things, and I started kind of talking to her and wanting to kind of understand, what her situation was. And she had told us that while she was supposed to be evacuating, um, she was performing a 7-hour surgery. And she came out of it with, she's like, it's cool because I wear scrubs every day for work, but other than that, I have nothing. And it was kind of like she kept feeling like, oh, I should stop. Like, I think I don't want to take, and we were like, this is what it's for. Please, please, please just keep grabbing whatever you want. And we helped pick out things for her and her daughter. She ended up taking a full suitcase that we had, completely filled, and a couple other bags of stuff. And it was just the most fulfilling thing for me. Um, but it was also kind of just a reminder of how many people were touched by this, and everybody was in a different situation. Um, she needed socks. She had no socks. And we had a bin of like donated socks, but you know, not the best quality that we could find. But my friend had gone to she'd gone to the Marymount clothing drive, and she's like, do you need anything? I was like, oh, I'll take socks. Like, need some socks, whatever. And so there was a 6-pack of brand new socks sitting in my pile. And then she was kind of picking around. I was like, you know what? Just, I think I have one more pack of socks left in the back. And everybody was kind of looking at me weird, like, those, those are free. And I was like, just grab them. And she took them, and that was like the one thing that she had needed the most.
Yeah.
And you know, it's such a rare position to be in, and I'm sure um I'll probably never be in this type of position again, hopefully. But I just figure that even in a position of having lost a home and a school and like your community, like there's still people that, you know, are in need, and my mind instantly goes, I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. There's people that need it more. And it's a rare mindset to be. Yes, you know, people will tell you, Maria, your house just burned down. You can feel sorry for yourself and you can think that you got some bad luck, but at the end of the day, like, there's people that are in incredibly tough situations that I think even tougher than mine. And so instantly my mind is like, no, like, your job is to help the people that need it more than you.
Yeah.
And so we got every single item donated to a variety of, you know, families. We pulled together packs of, you know, people sent their sizes and their kids' sizes, and we pulled together stuffed animals and books and toiletries and clothes and everything. Um, and then we went to churches and we went to donation centers and we went to um, just all around town.
Yeah.
And there were people that needed it. And so we dropped everything. Um, and my fear was that there was going to be stuff left over that we didn't know what to do with. But Saturday night, we had made probably like 6 or 7 trips back and forth, just loading up cars.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to get it everywhere that it needed to be.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you a question really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk a lot about with our audience. So first of all, I just want everyone to take a minute and pause and realize that this is a junior in high school who is telling us this story. And Linz and I have kids the same age.
Yeah.
And that's why we're crying right now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And your poise and your maturity in handling this situation is overwhelming. And I can guarantee you better than a lot of adults are handling this situation. It's like truly inspiring.
And what you're describing, like, it's like it happened in like the last 3 days. Like, as you're describing this, that's a story you'd be like, that happened over the last 3 months. We were doing this. It's like you are like activated and mobilized and made impact in like 48 hours. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow.
And
yeah,
I just, you know, I feel like it's really easy to talk about the bad, right? It's really easy to focus on the destruction and the devastation, and that's important from an awareness standpoint. But seeing a community come together and seeing it be led by young people who, you know, often get a bad rap. You're on social media too much. You're doing this, you're doing that. And to see a group of young people like yourselves figure it out, right? Because everybody's busy right now, and I can only imagine the stress that adults are under, and so for you guys to come together and be so organized, proactive, and generous, and it's truly amazing. It's just it's incredible. Like I'm kind of speechless. I don't know, Linz, what you want to say.
Well, I'm not speaking because I can't. It's like I'm just processing it. It's like the idea that you aggregated the goods and you got the message out and you got it distributed like in minutes, like a minute of having looked up and lost everything, like, and all of you did. Like, it's like everyone bringing that solution to the table lost everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a gift in the real time, and it's also like this big ripple for everyone to witness, and they will witness it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a great footprint.
And I'll say, like, I'm one of many, you know, like, there are countless, groups that popped up over the last couple days that are just uh, doing a lot of great work and just pulling everybody in and trying to get everything possible to give to people that need it.
Mm-hmm.
And also just not even um, kind of these different projects that are starting up, but just the words of support and kindness
Mm-hmm.
that people have shown. Um, People who have lost everything are still reaching out to check on me. Um, like there's been nothing but selfless um, generosity and kindness through this entire time. Um, I will say that the scariest part was that the school was gone. I
Yeah.
think um, the night that it caught on fire, a lot of us thought it was completely gone because they said it was a loss. They said it was completely destroyed. They
Yeah.
said football field's gone, baseball field's gone, buildings are gone. And a lot of us were just sitting here like, what do you mean? This is our entire life gone. And then the morning after, there was somebody who went and like photographed the school and walked around it, and the quad is pristine. The football field pristine. Like a lot of the buildings were completely like fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's what kind of sparked the hope of, okay, there's a place that's still here,
Mm-hmm.
and the amount of kids that just poured in to try and get this school rebuilt immediately, of
Mm-hmm.
like already starting GoFundMe's, already starting, volunteer signups and information about, rebuilding, not even just the school, but, stores in the town and, the library and like the gym and all of that.
Yeah.
It's just been, kind of what you were saying, Jen, about the kids getting the bad rap and being seen as just lazy, selfish,
Mm.
stupid kids. I will say that can be true. Not denying it. I've seen it and I've been it. But largely during this time, it's been some of the most mature,
Mm.
kind, driven, creative um, people just
Yeah.
banding
Yeah.
together. Group chats on group chats on group chats of, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah.
People reaching out to me that I don't talk to really, but they knew me from some class 2 years ago, texting me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's struck me the most is just the kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as you're thinking about this, Maria, going forward, like people are going to listen, and people who are not there are going to want to help. Like, what are the ways you would channel people to say, "Hey, here's how to help. Here's where to go to help. Here's what's most important to do to help," just from your filter and what you're seeing out there.
Mm-hmm. I would say, obviously, we need donations and we need items, but being intentional about what you're donating, I think a lot of times people just shove everything in a bag and send it. But being intentional about what you're sending, making sure that if you have it, good quality, gently used,
Mm-hmm.
as close to new as possible so that these items can be used for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that there's a spreadsheet that I can share with you guys to, put up of a cumulative list of GoFundMe's that
Okay.
are all in the same place.
Oh, good.
There's a long list of families. There's also restaurants, local businesses,
That's
um,
great.
and that way you don't have to kind of. I know for me it's kind of all over the place of just
Mm-hmm.
things everywhere, but I know that people kind of farther out of the bubble,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot harder to figure out where you should be directing your efforts. But that list has been incredible for just kind of having it all in one place.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say that for if you're going to look to donate somewhere specific, I actually went to the YMCA today to work out, actually, for
Good
mental
for you.
health.
Yeah.
Good for
Um,
you.
and they were working their butts off. Like, it was a machine of just like close to 50 people, just like directing traffic and moving boxes and getting things to people. The YMCA's have been great in this area for responding.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say local churches are doing a lot of great work. I think it's really important when you're looking for kind of supporting these local communities is looking to these local community centers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the local churches and the local recreation centers. I also know that, Salvation Army is doing a lot of good work right now to kind of make sure that these donations are getting to people.
Okay.
But yeah, and if you're not sure, but people that are in the area,
Mm-hmm.
reach out to them. Locals are
Mm-hmm.
we're all interconnected here and we all know so much.
Yeah.
Um,
So if people are listening right now and they don't have a chance to go anywhere, is there a GoFundMe, Maria, that that you would just say, this is a good, go here, this is a GoFundMe, or is there a place you would point people to, as they're listening, to just go right now?
I would point you to that list. I don't have it up right now,
Okay, awesome.
but I think that list would be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
We'll make sure that that's in captions and wherever we need to put it.
Huge show
So,
notes, huge
yeah.
emails, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Maria, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being the person that you are. It's truly amazing. I know, behind the scenes, we're doing a lot to try to see how we can help. I do want to point out, because I think, this has been such an important part of my life, but, Maria's an elite athlete. And so our kind of Prosper's performance community is really trying to come together to really support all people, but really, with a focus on these student athletes and how to sports can play such a healing role for not only the athlete themselves, but their families and the communities
Yeah.
that sports create for all of us. And so, that's going to be another call to action for me. That's something that we're working on at Prosper, is gathering donations of new and slightly used sporting goods that
Yeah.
we are actually shipping to us in Park City, to sort and organize, and then be able to work with Maria and her contacts locally to help community centers, schools, programs that have been impacted by these fires in the Palisades and the greater LA area, to say, do you need balls? Do you need cleats? Like, what do you need to get kids out playing again? Because that is healing not only for the kids, but for the entire community and for the families involved. And so any of you listening that have contacts at Nike or Adidas or any of these big sporting goods, or have things, have access to teams and things that have kits that have not been worn or were made for special places, we at Prosper, Linsly and I will I'll have all that information in as well, because that's been so core to a lot of our curriculum and a lot of our teaching and a lot of what we talk about, and starting to heal communities, especially for kids and some mental health reasons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's such a rallying point in the community is sports. Everybody I know is in some sort of sport, and there's a lot of soccer clubs.
Mm.
Just kind of what I know about is mainly, with soccer, but um, the volleyball clubs are doing great work too, and those are separate from the school. But
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of clubs are doing collections and looking for cleats and
Mm-hmm.
shin guards and balls and jersey,
Mm.
all of that. And so that's definitely a point of need
Yeah.
for a lot of kids.
And I think, some of these things, again, like we talked about, these are the second and third tier things. Like, they're not necessarily the acute, but, for
Mm-hmm.
anyone that's ever been displaced, the acute part, the fire is going to hopefully be put out soon, but that doesn't mean that that's just the start of the rebuilding. And so to get
Right.
some of these items that bring a sense of normalcy back and can help communities heal that are not maybe front of mind in the immediate emergency period is stuff that we really want to continue to say, we want to be this support for the long term and maybe even ongoing. Maybe we are able to start something where we can hold stuff when there, unfortunately climate change is happening and we're seeing more and more disasters
Yeah.
nationwide. And maybe this is a spark to create something that starts with the communities in LA and eventually is
Yeah.
sustainable to help other communities who are recovering from things and using sport as that community healing and attraction, I guess.
Yeah.
That's so great. That's great, Jen.
All right, you guys. Well, Maria, we're going to let you get back to your family, and we so appreciate your time. I do want to highlight your mom's organization as well. It's called CORE, and we'll
Core,
put
yes.
that up there. It really specializes in disaster relief and getting things to people real time.
Mhm.
And so we'll put that as a place to donate as well. And when you guys have a chance to reset, we'd love to have you both back on just to check in, see what up, whether it's
Mhm.
a couple weeks from now, a month from now, whenever you just let us know. Have you both back on to say, okay, what are the needs now? What are you seeing? How can we reach out to our networks and our communities at It's Time and Prosper and beyond that and say, let's continue to support these communities as they start to rebuild.
That's awesome. I would love to do that. And I think kind of what you just touched on is super important of recognizing, the role that climate change plays in all of this. It's what I want to study. It's what I want to build my career around is making sure that our world is moving in the right direction in terms of that. And so, seeing this is just a super big sign that we have work to do. um, is so it's a incredibly big driving factor for me, and so I'd love to keep an eye on that and see how we rebuild because we should be rebuilding differently, not the
Yeah.
same. There's work that needs to be done
Yeah.
and there's systems that need to change. So yeah.
Gosh, that is so compelling, Maria. Thank you for being there. Thank you for seeing the world that way.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our future. For
Yeah.
those of us that have a lot of gray hair, it is I
Really
have
true.
goosebumps right now. I mean, just really I do. Like it is I feel, in a world that is divided and crazy right now, I feel this overwhelming confidence that there's hope and unite there's a
It's
uniting
energy. It's
spirit
energy.
and people want to work together regardless of all the other noise that gets in the way sometimes. And so thank you for being a pillar of that and for representing that and showing a lot of people the light in darkness and a really positive way forward in really difficult times. And your dad and I have spent a lot of years working on performing under pressure, and you are a beautiful example of doing that with humility and grace. And it's awesome to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.
All right. Linz, any final wrap up?
Just thank you, Maria. Thank you for being there and thank you for leading the way. You're a luminary.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll check in soon.
Thank you for taking the time to join us on It's Time today. Obviously, Linsly and I were incredibly moved by this remarkable young woman and what she and her community are going through. Again, there are lots of opportunities and ways to help and donate and help the healing process, even in the midst of ongoing devastation and chaos. We are trying to help them rebuild through the sports and performance community. So if you have anything that you'd like to donate, but specifically new or like new sporting equipment across all different sports, please reach out to us at info@weprosper.co or hit up Linsly or I directly on any of our social channels, and we will coordinate on how to get those goods to Prosper where we are storing, sorting, and sourcing goods to local teams, rec centers, schools, community centers, and whoever just needs to help, especially these families and communities, rebuild through how we know the bonding and communities are created through sport. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.